Burger, pizza, and pasta. Welcome back to Sound the Siren. I'm Xavier.
I'm Dylan. Welcome back to another episode. Today is the second rendition of the AFL review, and in my opinion, it was a fantastic week of football, Xav.
Yeah, looking at it before the start of the week, we didn't think it was going to be such a great week as far as we thought a lot of the games were going to be blowout victories, but there are a few upsets and a few games that didn't quite go the way we expected, so it's always pretty good.
Yes, for sure. And before we get into the tips and reviews, is there anything else you'd like to say?
I do have a little bit of NBA news and just a few things that are going around the league that I'd like to hear your opinion on, Dylan. So I'll get into that now. We saw Blake Griffin make his debut for the Brooklyn Nets today, and wasn't a very impressive start. He did get the long-awaited dunk that we've all been looking forward to. But did you get to watch him, and what are your thoughts on him?
I did see a little bit, and in my opinion, he actually did fulfill the role reasonably well. He was great on the defensive end. He had a good block. He had multiple stops, and him alongside Nick Claxton along the bench was a really good 1-2 punch for the defensive side of things. But he only played 15 minutes, and once he's fully healthy, I know he's had some time off, but there's always a game that you need to come back and just settle yourself before you get back into having bulk minutes. But yeah, I think it was good today, to be honest.
You did actually briefly touch on the next little note I have here, which was on Nicholas Claxton. I think he's been incredible the last couple of games, especially on the defensive end. We know he's had his pretty funny interview, but I think what he can bring for the Nets on the court, sort of replacing Jared Allen as that defensive big, could be really important for them going down the line, especially if they have to verse someone like Anthony Davis or Jokic or someone else, whoever they will meet, even Joel Embiid in the East. But yeah, I think he's been really good, and I think Blake Griffin could still be good for them as well. We saw Luka Doncic had 8 out of 8 threes, so that was incredible as well. He started the year off very poorly from behind the arc, and was shooting it just about the worst in the league. So to see him getting his touch back is very good for not only him but the Mavericks as well. And I think we even saw him getting double teamed from the second the ball was inbounded. So what are your thoughts on that, Dylan?
Yeah, no, look at the all-round performance from the Mavericks today. I think it was a 40-point blowout, and Dame and CJ couldn't do anything to prevent the flow. But yeah, Luka was amazing. 34 points on 8 of 9 for three, as you said, hit his first four, and that's the Luka I think we all expected before the season.
Yeah, I know before the season started, we did the tier maker of top NBA teams, and we had the favorites and then the contenders. And I begged you to put the Mavericks on the contenders list, and they definitely haven't lived up to that so far. How far do you think they can go in the playoffs this year?
Look, you definitely wouldn't want to face them first round, especially if they're the sixth seed or seventh seed or even fifth seed. But yeah, I'd see them second round, and if Luca does what he did against the Clippers in the bubble, possibly conference finals. But the West is stacked, and the team that's surprisingly lost 20 in a row is the Rockets, who we all predicted to be reasonable. But yeah, I think they'll go second round and possibly conference.
I didn't actually predict the Rockets to be that good, but mainly because I thought James Harden would leave. But we know no one, or not everyone, saw that coming, so not everyone predicted them to be as bad as they are. But
Yeah.
even with the team that they have right now, you'd think they could be a little bit better. Obviously, they picked up Oladipo, Christian Wood's coming back
Hmm.
now. They've waived DeMarcus Cousins, but he was good while he was there.
Yeah.
So it's a little bit disappointing from them still. In regard to injuries, we've got LeBron James and Joel Embiid, who are easily the two favourites for MVP just a couple of weeks ago, are both injured with somewhat long-term injuries. Does that change where you see the MVP? Are you leaning to more Luka, Jokic, and even James Harden, or do you still think LeBron and Joel Embiid have a chance?
I think Jokic would probably be the favourite, mainly because we saw last year there were a few other players who were injured and they were just not forgotten about, but they weren't taken into account fully. So I think unfortunately it does, which is terrible because Joel Embiid and LeBron are having unbelievable seasons and they're really carrying their team.
To me, I think the LeBron still has a little bit of a chance, given that he's been, or given that he had only missed one game before his injury, but I don't think Joel has that great a chance given that he'd already missed a lot of games before he suffered his knee injury. So I don't think he's the best chance. I think LeBron may be a chance, but I think I agree with you. If Jokic continues to put up numbers that he is, which are ridiculous, by the way, and the Nuggets can win a couple more games, I think he's definitely the favorite. The other one, who is also just got injured, LaMelo Ball. We know he's going to be out for the rest of the season now, which is really unfortunate for me to have my two favorite players in the league out at the same time. Do you think he's still a chance for Rookie of the Year? And if not, who do you think will win?
Yeah, it's dreadful save. I do think he'll win Rookie of the Year, but Anthony Edwards has a solid resume as well. But LaMelo's been unreal.
Yeah, I agree with you again. LaMelo Ball, he's one of my favorite players, but he's got his team in the playoff picture, not only in the picture, but they're in the top 8 teams as of right now. He's won both of the Rookie of the Months in the Eastern Conference, which unfortunately for Anthony Edwards hasn't won any of them yet, given Tyrese Halliburton has won both of them. But he's been really, really good. You talked about his improved shooting. That's almost up at, I think, 38% now, which is above league average. So, and he's shooting like deep shots and a lot of them. So he's been really, really good. And I think he's still a very good chance of winning.
Tyrese Halliburton as well for the Kings, extremely diverse and underrated. But that's the NBA talk, and now to the AFL, and I'll let you kick us off with what was a brilliant first game of the round. Your Blue Boys, who were strong until the final 5 minutes against the reigning premiers.
I think this was a really interesting game. I'd lost my voice after about 5 minutes, so that wasn't good. I think the Carlton was really good, and I actually think through the first 3 quarters we were better than Richmond were. Richmond did Richmond things, and in the last quarter they blew us out. Really, they kicked multiple goals, and we just didn't have the answers. So they ended up winning, and ended up winning by I think 24 points, which I'm not sure was perfectly depicts how the game went, but they won and they deserve to win, so well done to them.
Yeah, 25 points, which doesn't encapsulate how the game went, as you said, but Jacob Wiedering continued his form that earned him the Blues best and fairest. He shut down Tom Lynch just to 1 goal. Jack Nunes had 27 disposals, so definitely some positives for the Blues, but from Richmond it was dusty, and boy was it dusty. In the last quarter he turned up and he won the game for them. Honestly, he was just ridiculous. He racked up 158 Supercoach points, I believe, and he was unbelievable, Zave. That's the Dusty Martin show, and the Tigers are in full force still.
I did forget to mention both of those players. Wiedering, again, one of my favourite players in the league, was, as you said, incredible. But that 1 goal that Lynch did kick wasn't even Wiedering's fault. I do believe Pitney got in the way, so that was a little bit unfortunate for Wiedering's stats, but Carlton as well. And then, as you said, Dustin Martin. I don't normally give him my props on his props on this show, but he was incredible. It's one of the best games I've ever seen him play. He tore us to shreds all game. No one could tackle him like it often happens, but I found his kicking. I actually think normally he's a below average kick, but his kicking against us this week was incredible. He couldn't miss a target, and they were difficult kicks that he just picked us apart with. So well done to him, and well done to Richmond.
The Magpies and the Dogs was the next game, and it was a low-scoring affair, but it's mainly because of Darcy Moore. He makes up for the lack of offensive threats they have, and he was extremely prominent and always has been. But for the Dogs, it's their midfield. It's Bontempelli, it's Treloar, who didn't have his best game, and they still dominated the clearances. Jack McRae, Dunkley, Lockie Hunter, Liberatore. I could go on forever, Zave, and Caleb Daniel in the back pocket as well.
Yeah, I think this game, again, the score doesn't really reflect how it went. The Bulldogs only ended up winning by 16, but they pumped Collingwood in every facet of the game. Yeah, I think I was a little bit disappointed with how Collingwood played, and I was a little bit disappointed for the amount of ball and the amount of dominance that the Bulldogs had. I was a little bit disappointed with how much they scored, but they got the win, which is all that really matters in the end.
And a takeaway for me was Brodie Grundy. I know it's the first game of the year, but he wasn't his usual self. And Braden Maynard was good, but yeah, Brodie Grundy, unfortunately, not the biggest impact on the game.
I'm not that worried about Grundy, to be honest. He did have 39 hit-outs, which was more than double the next best and more than double the the Bulldogs in total. So I think he's going to be fine.
The D's with the 22-point victory against the Dockers, and Clayton Oliver will push for the 3 votes given he had 35 disposals, 7 clearances at 80% disposal efficiency, and similar to the Bulldogs midfield, the D's midfield was awesome.
I do want to touch on Tom McDonald as well. He had
Yep.
18 disposals, 2 goals, 2, but he took 9 marks, which I think over the last couple of years, especially since they've lost Jesse Hogan, Tom McDonald has been looked at to be that number 1 forward and really take marks, kick goals, and be everything you want. And he hasn't been that, but he was incredible this week. So well done to him. If he can keep that up, I think Melbourne will probably make finals.
Nat Fyfe, still good. Brayshaw led all Comas for Freo with 29 touches, and Sarong was handy as well. But the Dockers weren't that disappointing. To lose by 22 points, I think the margin should have been a little more, but honestly, on an away turf, I thought they were okay for round 1.
Brayshaw has been incredible the last year and a half, I think. I know the Gold Coast Suns gave up the number 2 pick for Lockie Weller, and that number 2 pick ended up being Andrew Brayshaw. So if I was the Gold Coast Suns, I'm not sure I'd be too happy about that trade, but if I was Fremantle, I'd be ecstatic because that's worked out really well for them.
A tremendous performance by the Crows, a 12-point win, and they had a 40-point advantage at some stage, and it was Tex Walker. He kicked 5. It was almost reflective of his own self, 18 disposals, and Rory Laird moving through the midfield continues to pay dividends for the Crows, and Jordan Butt, his first game, held Tom Hawkins to 1 goal, I believe it was, and just an all-round amazing performance from what was expected to be the Wooden Spooners.
Yeah, they were really impressive, Adelaide. I think Geelong were a little bit lackluster, but not to take anything away from Adelaide. As you said, Taylor Walker was incredible. He kicked 5 goals too and had 7 marks. So, and he really imposed like a physical presence. He hit hard, which he's not always doing, but I think this time last year we were talking a little bit about how perhaps Adelaide should drop Taylor Walker, and I think he's flipped the script a little bit and he's starting to put some good football together.
The Cats, and they've got a tough task against the Lions this week, but it's at GMHBA, so another test for them. The Crows shouldn't have really been a test, but the next game, possibly the best game of the week, Essendon versus Hawthorn, a 39-point lead for the Bombers, and the Hawks stormed back to win by a point. And they have the power this week, which won't be any easier. The Hawks was mainly in their bracket, I'd say, for the 15th, 18th quartile. But I think we're a little harsh on the Don save. They actually did look very, very impressive until the 4th quarter and some of the 3rd.
Yeah, they looked very, very, very impressive until the halfway through the 3rd quarter, but then they also looked very, very poor for the rest of the game. So I'm not sure, but they have to be better. They have to close games better than they did. So
yeah, I know. Unable to suppress the flow of the Hawks, but the Swans and the Lions, and in my opinion, the Swans have the best roster under 25. They've Jordan Wicks, Braden Campbell, Chad Warner, Errol Goulden. There's a couple off the top of my head I'm missing, but what's your opinion on that?
I disagree. I think there's a team that goes by the name of Carlton that also have a very good roster under the age of 25. We've got Charlie Curnow, who, despite not having played for a long, long time, has been very, 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 very good when he has. So I think he's very good. We got Zach Fisher. He's only 22 years of age. We know how much of a gun Sam Walsh is. Caleb Marchbank, when he plays, is a gun as well, but he hasn't played for a long time. Harry Mackay is only 23 years of age, and I think he's a superstar. Sam Petrevsky-Seton shows a lot of dominance for us. He's 23. We've got some other ones as well. Silvani's 23 years of age. We know he's struggled to be on the track. Jacob Wiedering, who's just about our best player at the moment, is only 23 as well. So also Williamson. I think Sydney has a lot of the players and a lot of young ones, but I think a lot of them are unproven compared to the ones that Carlton have had. Like, we know Walsh, we know he's an absolute star, and we know Wiedering was in the All-Australian squad last year, whereas these people, Errol Goulden, some of the other ones I can't think of who you said. Yeah, these players have only played like 1, 2 under 20 games. So it's hard for me to say that they're better than the likes of Walsh, Wiedering and Kerno when they haven't played that many games yet. But maybe in the future, we'll see.
They have a high ceiling, that's for sure. And weren't they impressive against the Lions? Errol Goulden in his first game dominated, and in the midfield as well. Luke Parker didn't have his best game overall, but he didn't need to. The rest of the team just stepped up, and what a win it was for the Swans. They'll come back to Sydney and play Adelaide this week, which is again winnable. And who knows, they might be on the top of the table after this week. But the Sunday game, the first game, was North versus Port Adelaide, and North were great in the first quarter, but they were overrun in the end. Jaden Stevenson with 33 disposals.
Yeah, they were very, very good in the first quarter, especially Luke Davis-Uniacke, who I'm a big fan of. He seemed to have his own ball in the first quarter, so that was very good for not only him boosting his confidence, but North as well. But Port Adelaide showed their class and flexed their guns a little bit and ran away with this game pretty easily. Travis Pope as well, just quickly, was elite. He had 27 touches and 2 goals, so probably the 3 votes for him. And Fantasia, who kicked 5 goals, 5 or something, 4 goals. 4.
4 goals, 4 for Fantasia in his first game for the club, but I agree, both should receive the 3 Brownlow votes. The next game was the Saints and the Giants, and these are the sort of wins that help you build respect as a contender, in my opinion, on the road, in the wet, against a quality opponent, and with about 8 people out. Limited ruckman in his first game. Hunter had the tough task, and Matthew Flynn for the Giants was also impressive. But yeah, in my opinion, a great win for the Saints.
Yeah, both teams were a little bit underhanded, but it was really good from the Saints. Hunter Clark was incredible. Again, one of my favourite players. Jack Billings was good with 30 touches and a goal. Yeah, as you said, it's a massive win for them. I think St Kilda and GWS will be sort of competing for one of the lower spots in the finals. But so to get a win over someone that's in a similar position to you is always good. What do you think about at the end the Dan Butler or tackle or bump on Callum Ward? Do you think it should have been a free? Or?
Look, at first, I was questionable and sceptical, but if you see it from a different angle, he did tackle him. It's an unconventional tackle, but he did. But yeah, it's a tough one to call, and in the moment it could have gone either way. And if it was play on, there was a minute left, so possibly the Giants could have won, but I don't know. I really don't know. From an unbiased perspective, at first I didn't like it, but they did show an angle which proved that he managed to grab him. Tough call, and in the end, the calls are calls. You can't dispute them once the game's over.
I'm not sure that it was a tackle, but I'm happy that they did call it, because if I could change anything in the AFL, I'm always against rule changes, but the one thing that I would like to change is if a player doesn't dispose of the ball correctly, it should be holding the ball or dropping the ball, because I don't know what Callum Ward was even thinking running slowly through the middle of the forward 50. It seemed very stupid to me, but he didn't dispose of the ball. He just dropped it, and that should be dropping the ball every day of the week, regardless of whether it was a bump or a tackle. It happens all the time. You see players get tackled and they just get rid of it and they just drop it, or even like there's a pack and they just let go of it, and that shouldn't be allowed, and it happens all the time. I'm glad they did call this one.
The Giants' main obstacle was the inability to convert, however. They had 68 inside 50s and they managed 11 goals, 12. So if they did convert, they would have won, and ultimately they probably deserved to win, but yeah, they didn't. And the final game of the round was the Battle of the Coasts, West Coast versus Gold Coast, and the main takeaway is the injury from Matt Rowell. We hope a speedy recovery for him, and it's just such a shame in his first game back to see his leg go down like that, but apart from that, it was a good contest until the last 5 minutes and the Eagles kicked away, and Oscar Allen had a great performance for the Eagles, but it's hard to go past Matty Rowell.
Yeah, I wish sports were video games sometimes and you could just turn off injuries, because we touched on it earlier, LeBron James, Joel Embiid, LaMelo Ball, Anthony Davis, and now Matt Rowell are all injured. So, and Dangerfield's going to miss time too, not through injury, but through suspension. So it's going to be a little bit of it's going to be a sporting week without some of the stars that we're used to. So it's really upsetting to be Matt Rowell and have just missed the whole of your first season, to come back, get the hype back. Everyone's excited to watch you play. I was most looking forward to this game out of all of them. But to have him get injured, it's not even just bad for my super coach. It's bad for him, bad for Gold Coast, and bad for the AFL world.
I'm not sure he's too worried about your super coach save. I'm not going to lie, maybe rehab. But yeah, we do wish a quick and speedy recovery for him. Now I'm going to fire you the games this week, and you're going to give me the winners. Carlton Collingwood,
Carlton just.
Geelong Brisbane,
Geelong just.
Sydney Adelaide,
Sydney.
Port Essendon,
Port.
Saints Melbourne,
Saints.
Gold Coast North,
Gold Coast.
Hawthorn Richmond,
Richmond.
Western Bulldogs West Coast,
Oh, that's a tough one.
Atma,
I think the Dogs just.
and Freo GWS.
GWS, I think.
Yeah, I'd agree with most of them except possibly Brisbane, just because of the poor performance by the Cats last week. But I hope you enjoyed this episode, a round one review, some round two tips, and we'll continue this every week, as I stated last week. Save, any other notes?
Nothing else from me.
All right, so that wraps it up. Get better, Matty Rao, and make sure to like, subscribe, and we'll see you next episode. Thanks for watching.